All right. Hey guys, Mr. Kyle, Myers Mathematics, and let's just jump right into it. Today I want to talk about how to get your grades up. So as of right now, we're approaching the end of a semester, but this can be used at the end of a semester, during the semester. I mean, really, you want to try to, get your grades up as soon as you see that you're getting a grade that you don't like, and it's always easier to fix it at the beginning than it is later on. But for wherever you're at in your journey, whether you're a high school math student or a college math student, here's a couple tips and tricks and that sort of thing on answering the question, how do I fix this, when you're looking at your current grade in the class. All right, so before we get started, if you need one-on-one help with math, you can reach out to me at my email, mr.kyle@myersmathematics.com. And then if you need a guide on just like how to not get math problems wrong in general, my general guide is called The 5 Math Mistakes Everyone Makes and How to Avoid Them. That's at myersmathematics.com. And I'll put a link to that in the description below. So, number one, you can do test corrections. Yeah, test corrections. So you might be thinking, well, my teacher doesn't do test corrections. Well, you could always do them anyways. And hear me out here. So it's always easier for the teacher to be like, no, I don't accept test corrections, than it would be for you to just do them and then do them well, really like put a lot of effort into it, and then hand them in with a big smile on your face and be like, please take my corrections. So it's just easier to do it that way because one is like, the teacher can see that you did a lot of work and, it's feel bad. He or she will feel bad. Like if they say no now because you've already done it. And also, if you're showing that you want to make a change, that you want to improve, and that sort of thing. So, if you kind of like needing to do a 180 here because you realize your grade is really bad and you kind of need to do a complete 180, you just need to show that first, show that you are on the track to success, and then your teacher's going to be more likely to work with you. So that's always helpful too in all of these options. But yeah, go ahead and just do those test corrections. I'm going to put a link in the description below for a good test correction form. But essentially, if that link ever goes bad or whatever, here's what you need. You need why you got the problem wrong, the correct solution to the problem, and then maybe like how to not make that same mistake in the future. So if your test correction form that you look up, that you Google on the internet, has those three things in it, then you're pretty much golden. All right, but I have an example in the link below. So, number two, you can always get a tutor. All right, and this maybe sounds like a little biased and a little bit like a self-promotional thing, but let's imagine something here for a second. Like think of your favorite tutor or your favorite teacher. Think of your favorite teacher, right? And just the best teacher you've ever had so far, and then imagine, what if they just sat down with you for a whole hour and explained whatever topic you wanted, because it doesn't have to be a math teacher, whatever topic you wanted in their field, of course. Like that would be great, right? And that's exactly what a tutor does. Now, sometimes tutors do like more than just one person at a time, but most of the time, tutors teach one person at a time. It's specialized. It's different. So if that's not really in the cards right now, if that's not like in the budget or whatever, there's other options. There's other alternatives. You could always do group coaching. So group tutoring, group coaching, whatever you call it. And high schools and colleges usually both have that sort of thing in some effect, right? So whether you're in high school math or college math, you can take advantage of this. If you're in high school, here's what you want to look for. You want to look for after-school tutoring first, because some of the teachers sometimes get together and do after-school tutoring. Sometimes they get paid for it, sometimes they don't. So just always, thank them after school if they are helping you after school, because they might not even get paid to do that. But other math teachers, maybe not your math teacher, because maybe your math teacher and you don't get along very well because you're just not learning very much from them. But hey, another math teacher at the school could be a lot better or just click with you a lot better. And maybe they have after school tutoring. So just ask a math teacher, it doesn't have to be yours, and see if there's after school tutoring. Also, there is a math club, and it's usually called Mu Alpha Theta, which is Greek and it spells out the word math, and it's the math club. So find the math club and see if they do tutoring. A lot of times the math club does tutoring for free just because they're really good at math and those kids like to do math. And they can do tutoring sometimes at lunch or after school. I'm more familiar with them doing tutoring during lunch, so maybe see if that's an option. And then also if you're just a little bit more extroverted and you just want to do this, you can just ask around and see who's good at math at your school. Get their number and be like, hey, please help me. So you could do that too. If you can step outside your comfort zone like that. If you're in college, here's what you could do. There's usually a building or room for tutoring somewhere on campus. So you can check that out. Ask your professor or ask really any professor. Any professor that's been there a while would probably know where the help center, the tutoring center is, whether they teach math or not. It's sometimes called the Success Center or just the Math Lab or the Academic Success Center, something like that. It'll be called something like that. It might be specifically math if they have a building just for math. Or at a smaller college, they might just group all the tutorings into one place. So check that out. And it's likely near the library or in the library. So if you want to go somewhere first and see, I would check the library first because that's likely where it's at. All right. Now, just to keep in mind, those college students that are tutoring you are in fact college students, and it's not the professors. It's just other college students usually that are doing this. So it's kind of hit or miss. Sometimes they're just good at math and they're just like, oh, I'm going to be a math tutor because I'm good at math, but they're really not good at explaining things. It's kind of hit or miss. But you know what? Some of them could be really good. And, I started out tutoring at a college myself while I was in college. So, could be really good. So, number 1, do test corrections. Number 2, get a tutor. Number 3, you can retake the test. This one's a little bit more of a long shot, okay, because you're probably also thinking, like, my teacher doesn't do that either. Okay, well, that's okay. You can always just ask, and the worst they can say is no, right? That's the worst they can say. Also, if you want to do a little bit more research on this, if this is a test that you've recently taken, test or quiz, I guess, that you've recently taken, and you are able to get outside your comfort zone and ask the majority of your classmates, so more than 50% of your classmates, if they did well on the test or quiz or not, and if the grade average was like pretty low, like below a 70 or so, like a D average or worse, then that everybody did bad on that. So the teacher should do a retake test or retake quiz. Keyword should. They don't necessarily have to, but you could get a couple other people to, agree with you that, hey, I should be able to take a retake on this because a lot of us bombed it. And you can, politely ask the teacher in class or the professor, like, hey, like, we all bombed this. You want to help us out here? Also, if you are watching this and you're a parent or if you are a college student, you can always find out who the department head is if it's really bad, like if everybody did really bad on the test and the teacher doesn't want to do a retake. You can always, kind of go over their head and go to the math department head for high school or college and find out who they are and email them and be like, hey, look, the grade point average for this test or quiz was this much. You can actually do the numbers and they can see that you're really invested in this. And they're like, oh, wow, that, teacher did have a really low test average. And usually if it's a low test average, that means that it's kind of more on the teacher. If everybody bombed it, it's more a reflection on them not teaching you guys well. So you could go over their head and do that too and ask the department head to, kind of make the teacher or the professor give you a retake. Okay, but that's, you want to be really careful with that. And don't make it known to the teacher that you're going over their head. Don't be angry about it or whatever. Just calmly, say, okay, well, if the teacher doesn't want to do something, you can go over their head and see if they can do it from that level. right? And of course, if you ask, the worst they can say is no, right? Always keep that in mind. And then last thing, you can actually look into this thing called a grade change form. So again, this is a little bit of a long shot, kind of like the last thing, but it is something that's really cool that if your school has it, this could help you out if the teacher's willing to do this. Okay, so this is also depending on like if you're really showing that you're interested in improving your grade and you're doing all the things, you're studying and you have a tutor and you are doing all this extra work and really showing the teacher or the professor like, hey, like I'm working my butt off here and I'm your best friend, right? And if this exists, then this is something that they could agree to do. Excuse me. It's called a grade change form. It might be called something a little bit different depending on where this is at. But at some high schools, this is mostly a high school thing, there's a form that teachers can fill out to change the grade of a previous quarter. And you can actually do this even after the year is up. I actually did this over the summer once for a quarter 4 grade for a student. And they just they worked their butt off over summer to increase it to just show that they really came around and the parent was really involved in it and everything. So it is something that you can do. And this wasn't like a bad student. Sometimes, it can get kind of a bad idea here and be like, oh, well, this is just for like bad kids. And it's not necessarily just for like bad kids. It's just like if you're kind of struggling and then you're like, oh, hey, I need to kind of figure this out. And you figure it out. You get the right help and you really show that you know the material. Then you can do a grade change form. And the teacher has to do this. They have to get the form. And they usually have to say what the grade change, what the old grade was, what the new grade is, why they're changing it. It's a little bit of work on the teacher's end, so you want to be really nice to your teacher if you're asking them to do this. But if you show that you're doing all the things and that you really want to understand the material better, and you can prove that you know the material better, like let's say they let you retake a test back in a previous quarter, retake a test or quiz or whatever, and really you show like, oh wow, like you aced it because you know the material a lot better now, and that sort of thing, then they could increase your grade, and they can actually usually pick what grade they want to increase it to. So in theory, you could go from F to A, and that's a little drastic, and usually it doesn't happen, but you could at least increase it a letter grade, which technically doesn't help this quarter, but it helps your semester grade, which turns into that magic GPA number that you want to get. You want to get a high one of those things. So it is helpful because it helps to improve your semester grade, which is helpful for your GPA. So those are my 4 things, my 4 tips. Number 1, you can do test corrections. Number 2, you can get a tutor. Number 3, you can retake the test. And number 4, grade change forms. All right. So those are my 4. If there are any other things that you already know about and that have worked for you in improving your grade, go ahead and throw that in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. I didn't list like every possible everything, but just 4 things that I think are either likely or things that could really help if the teacher is willing to be on board with it. Okay. So go ahead and throw a comment if you have any other ideas on that, and subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And, I'll see you next time in another episode. This has been Mr. Kyle, Myers Mathematics.